Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our August 17th council meeting. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Roll call.
Mr. Oja?
Here.
Mr. Menegini?
Here.
Dr. Hayes?
Here.
Mr. Gottstein?
Here.
Mr. Ball?
Here.
Approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of August 3rd. Any additions or corrections?
I had one correction. My comment was that I thought that the solar power ought to be part of our energy plan rather than, I wasn't encouraging people to do it, since we do have a solar producer in the city right now.
Okay.
And with that correction, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the minutes of the August 3rd meeting.
Dr. Hayes, did you get that, Oja? I didn't hear. What do you want me to add?
No, I just said it ought to be part of our plan. I wasn't encouraging people to build solar. My comments under discussion, since they're included.
Okay. Encouraged.
Is there a second?
All support.
Motion made by Dr. Hayes, supported by Lee. Roll call.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Gottstein?
Yes.
Mr. Ball?
Yep.
Mr. Oja?
Yes. Approval manifest 2015-15 in the amount of $826,152.46. Dr. Hayes.
No questions.
Lee.
One. Where I had it here. Just more a couple of comments more than anything. Well, one question first. Page 1, Danielson Greenhouse was paid property maintenance, grass cut, clear junk, $250, which is no problem. Was there also a fine involved in this, or just?
I don't know if there was a ticket that was actually
don't know.
administered as well with that.
But technically, they could get a ticket for that?
They could get a ticket for
Okay.
that, yes.
Okay. And then I just on special elections, the county's reimbursing us for that.
Yes.
Okay. And then just a little comment here, this past month, just let the people know where some of their money's going. We paid out $3,403 for dental insurance for all our employees and $75,899 in the MERS retirement fund. That's all I have.
George.
Yeah, I got a couple. Page 2. The second column down, right in the middle. RCS Communications. That 12-month GoTrack data plan for 4 trucks for $400 and $50. I see that it's in the packet back too. I believe it's in page 8. Is that $400 per truck or $400, which would be $1,600? There's $800 bills, but
It's $800 for 4 trucks. It's $200 per truck. 2 were in water and 2 were in public works.
okay. What that consists of, Mary?
That's those GoTracker units that are in the truck. This is just the data plan for 1 year. That's associated with those units.
What
Global
does it-
positioning system.
They track where the trucks are going. So they can check in to see where a truck has been and where it's going, where it's sitting.
Is this necessary?
They've
It
been-
has been useful in the past, yes.
Who checks this data, Joe?
I look at it.
Then what happens to it?
If there's something that needs to be addressed, I address it.
Sometimes I get complaints, citizen complaints about different things, and I can find out which truck was there and who it was. You don't always get the story perfectly correct.
Page 7. That was the same question, or, no. Okay, on the bottom column in page 7, two lines under the $10,000 bracket there. California contractors. Do you mean to tell me we've got to go out to California to get prices for wipes or is this a sewer camera MTC? Is that part of that? It seems like you're buying stuff from California. That's what I take it. We can't keep it local?
I would have to talk to Bob about that.
$170.
Yeah, I see it here, George. I see it, and I know in the past, he has purchased some things from a vendor that goes by the name of California Contractors, because he says it's less expensive. So, you know, that's all I can tell you about that one, because he buys it, not,
You got enough problems keeping stuff local, that you got to go out in California and buy stuff? That's it, Jeremy.
Chris?
No questions.
I've got no questions either. So with that, I'm looking for a motion to approve.
Make a motion we approve manifest 2015-15 in the amount of $826,152.46.
I'll support. Motion made by Chris, supported by myself. Roll call.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Gotstein?
Yes, but abstaining from the GO-TEC charges.
Pardon me. Tricia, also I seen for that payment of $1,259 for Spring Valley Ranch. Make note of that.
Okay, Mr. Ball?
Yes.
Mr. Oja?
Yes.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Does anyone from the audience wish to address the council on minutes, manifest, or agenda item? If you do, please come up to the podium, state your name and address for the record. If not, there'll be a time for further comment on any subject at the end of the meeting. Go ahead.
Joe, I see the permits for a garbage truck. Is that on the premises now, or?
the garbage truck is in the mechanic shop. We're putting on some of these strobe lights on the front bumpers in the back before it starts being used.
Okay.
But yes, we do have it.
This evening, we have appointments and presentations. We have Mike Peters from WPPI here to present. Like to come up? Mayor, thank you, members of the council. Appreciate taking a few minutes on your agenda tonight. My presentation will take about 15 minutes or so, depending on your questions. But was here a couple years ago. Appreciated the time then, and hopefully we can, if you have any questions about WPPI and the activities we were involved in as your wholesale power supplier, please feel free to ask those. You've been a member of WPPI since 2006, and when you joined, you signed what's called an all requirements contract. You made an agreement to buy your power from us, and we agreed to serve your power supply needs, recognizing the hydro facilities that are a valuable asset to your city, and working those into the arrangement. The WPPI was started in 1980. Our focus has been power supply, and that continues to be our primary focus. In addition to power supply, we also provide services orders, and also are involved in energy policy issues. Your city manager, Ray, sits on our policy advisory group that advises us on activities from a legislative regulatory standpoint and helps us devise strategies to address challenges. Right now, we're very much involved in the legislative discussions in Lansing that will affect our members in the UP of Michigan, as well as WPPI's operations. We first got into owning assets in 1990. We bought into a coal-fired power plant called Boswell in Minnesota. That plant has been a low-cost resource for us since the time we bought into it. We are in the middle of doing an environmental upgrade on that plant and anticipate that that unit will continue to run for another 15, 20 years. It is and will continue to be probably our lowest cost baseload resource throughout its duration. What allowed us to buy into that power plant was that 35-year all requirements contract that we had with our members. That contract is basically a financing tool for us. When we issue debt, we have to show our bond investors that we have the ability to repay that debt, and it's that contract that is the evidence of our ability to repay that debt. So our all requirements contract with our members is as much a financing tool as it is a commitment for WPPI and the member to interact with each other. Today we have about 12 major resources. We have a pretty good mix between owned resources and as well as resources under long-term contracts. In your packet, you have a couple of examples there of the resources specific. Boswell, as I said, is a baseload resource, coal-fired power plant. We also have natural gas in our portfolio. By the year 2018, we'll have about 40% of our energy will be coming from coal-fired resources. We're continuing to back down our purchases for coal as we get ready to comply with EPA's new regulations that were released a couple of weeks ago. I'm sure you've heard by now about the EPA's Clean Power Plan, and we are studying that rule and trying to understand the impact it will have on WPPI. We believe we're in relatively good shape, but we do know that we're going to have to remake our portfolio in the years to come in order to be able to fully comply with that regulation. And that's one of the reasons that we're talking with our members at this point in time. Right now, our all requirements contract that we have in place expires in December of 2037. And I think many people would believe that that's a long term remaining on that contract. Unfortunately, in the power supply world, it's not so long. We make decisions that, 35 to 50-year decisions. If we buy into an asset, typically we'll finance that over a 30 to 35-year time period. We also look at long-term power supply contracts. Last year, we entered into a contract that was a low-cost, fixed-cost contract. The owner of the plant, which came online this year, offered us a 25-year fixed-rate contract over the life of that contract. Unfortunately, we were not able to do a 25-year agreement because our contract with our members only went out an additional 20 years. We did the next best thing. We took a 20-year contract with a 5-year option. That option at the end of the contract is slightly higher. Overall, we could have done a little bit better if we would have been able to do a full 25-year contract. So although our current agreement runs until 2037, we're starting to bump up against the length of the term that we have with our members. We also know that we're going to have to substantially remake our portfolio in that time frame between 2020 and 2030 in order to comply with the EPA's Clean Power Plan. Most likely, we will be looking at natural gas, and most likely, there's a good chance that we could buy into a natural gas power plant that's being built during that time period. Because of that, we are asking our members to consider extending their all requirements contracts. We are asking our members to extend those contracts currently from 2037 to the year 2055. That will give us a 40-year agreement once it's extended next January. And that will give us about a 10 to 12-year window between now and that period of time in order to rebalance our portfolio, continue to do long-term planning for our members by looking at either purchase of wholesale power contracts or buying into some assets in order to meet the requirements of the Clean Power Plan and still remain cost effective. So that's really the major issue that we're talking to our members about. You know, one of the issues that our members ask is some specific examples of benefits that are returned back to our member communities. In your packet there, I believe it's on page 13, it shows some of the specific dividends that have paid back to the city of Norway. We've helped your customers through energy efficiency programs. Collectively, since 2010, your citizens have saved about $200,000 in energy efficiency. Those are dollars that would then be spent locally, but it helps customers reduce their power bills. We continue to provide energy service support through your energy service rep, Jeff Forbes, and we also have helped with other work such as a financial benchmark study. Another way that we look to return funds back to our members, we are a not-for-profit, customer-driven utility. So although at the end of the year we will have dollars above what we need to operate, we set aside some of that money for reserves to take care of our power plants. We also look for ways to return money back to the members as well. And one program that we do is give grants back to our member communities. Last year we gave back about $250,000 total to all of our members. $5,000 came back to Norway. We use that for high school scholarships and music in the park, holiday fireworks. Those are pretty typical things that we've seen our member communities do. The industry is changing significantly. Probably, I think I heard mention about solar as an issue in your community, and we're seeing that pop up throughout our entire service territory. Customers are wanting to put solar on their homes. We're looking at ways that our member communities can offer solar on a larger scale, more cost effectively. We've got 2 pilots that we're planning to break ground hopefully this year. That is community solar, where the local community utility can put up a larger system, and then customers that want to buy solar instead of putting it on their house could buy the output or subscribe the output specifically from that solar array and enter into a 20 or 25-year agreement to get a credit back for the upfront payment for buying the solar panel and buying the output. We believe this is a good opportunity for member communities to offer another service to citizens who are interested in solar and are willing to pay the price for solar, but they don't want to put it on their house, or it can't go on their house because of the location or the trees or whatever the situation might be. So it's another example of trying to help our member communities bring value locally. We also know that we're going to have to comply with the Clean Power Plan. That's going to be a regulation that's going to take probably the next 5 years to completely figure out and prepare WPPI to meet that rule long term so that we can continue to be cost effective for our member communities. You know, WPPI prides itself on being responsive to the members and being a member-driven organization. Joe serves on our board of directors. Joe has served on our executive committee. Ray's the alternate. Ray serves on one of our policy advisory groups. So, you know, Norway has and continues to be an active member of WPPI, and we really appreciate the involvement that we get from the city. We are heavily involved in the issues in Michigan. We have appreciated the partnership that we've had with Norway since you joined in 2006, and we hope that you will give positive consideration to extending your contract with WPPI so we can continue to be your wholesale power supplier for the long term. I would be happy to answer any questions you have about WPPI or anything else about the utility industry in general.
Anybody?
Yeah, I got a question. You said you need 34 here.
We have in the organization, what, like 50 something?
There are 51 members.
51 members, okay, and you need 34 of them to,
Yeah, the way we're structuring is, you know, some members may not want to sign until there's a critical number that is signed in order to take away that impediment. If you were to approve the contract extension, but we can't get enough other members to extend the contract extension, then nobody's extension would be valid. And so it's just a way of making sure that there's critical mass going forward. I can tell you that we have absolutely no concerns with respect to getting that critical mass. We actually already have 6 members that have sent their contracts back in already. It's only been a couple of weeks since they've been in your hands. We've got meetings scheduled over the next 2 months and feel very confident that we'll have enough, perhaps by our annual meeting in mid-September, to reach that number. So, but that's why it's there. We don't want any member to feel concerned about, if I sign this and nobody else signs it, am I the only one that's, signed up with this contract?
I see, Mike, it says here that you have the ability to acquire new power supply resources. Have you, or are you going to be looking into wind also?
Absolutely. And right now, the way we're looking at the new clean power plan, we have about 14% of our energy today comes from renewable resources. We believe that by 2030, that number is going to have to be closer to 25 to 30% will have to be renewable. And the two that we'll be looking at most likely will be wind and solar. Solar, we know there's probably a limit on how much we can put into the system, as there is wind, so we're going to have a balance between the two. But we're going to have to at least double what we currently have in our portfolio.
And with the EPA regulations on coal-fired plants, do we have any in our system that might not pass?
Actually, we have the 2 coal plants that we have ownership interest in. Elm Road Generating Station came online in 2010 and 11, one of the newest plants in the country. And Boswell, which is undergoing an environmental upgrade right now. Those 2 plants will be amongst the types of coal plants that will continue to operate for the foreseeable future. Even when the EPA looks at the Clean Power Plan and they do their projections, when the U.S. Environmental Information Agency does long-term projections, they still show that coal will be in the power supply portfolio beyond the year 2040. So we will have coal as part of our resource mix for a very long period of time. And so we believe that those 2 power plants will continue to operate, at least for the length of time that we still owe debt on those plants. And hopefully beyond that, we'd like to continue to operate those once they're even, once we've retired the debt on those plants. So we may have to, we'll likely have to change how they operate. Right now, those are the kind of plants that you want to run 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, all year long. It's a base load plant. They're amongst the most efficient and cheapest on a kilowatt-hour basis, and so you want to run them as much as you can. Most likely in the future, probably in that 2030, after that 2030 timeframe, those plants, you might see us, and the operators of those plants will run them for 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for 4 or 5 months during the hottest times of the year, and then you might run them a lot less during the shoulder months, that March, April, May, and then in the fall when usage is at its lowest because there's no air conditioning load, and so that's probably how those plants might operate differently in the future. But we fully expect those 2 plants to run for their useful life.
I noticed you mentioned possibly getting into the one on natural gas. Are you concerned at all about Obamaland from Washington? They're starting to talk down natural gas now too.
I tell you what, it's either natural gas, nuclear, or coal. Those are the 3 options you have for baseload resources. You cannot run a utility dependent solely on solar and wind. It can't be done. And so, even in countries that have a significant amount of renewables, they still have a pretty high concentration of natural gas or coal. Germany went through a phase where they shut down their nuclear plants, but now their coal plants are running more than ever. You can't run a utility just on renewables at this point. So it's one of those 3. It's either nuclear, natural gas, or coal. Right now, there are some new nuclear reactors being built in the south. They're still very expensive. There's a lot of research being done on smaller scale nuclear that might be available after the year 2030. We know of one agency like ours in Utah that is slated to put in one of these new modular reactors in the early 20s. We'll take a look at it, see how it operates, see what the economics look like. But it's it's either natural gas, coal, or nuclear, so.
Is there any, it's my understanding that wood-fired furnaces will not be allowed by the EPA, is that correct?
Yeah, that's one of the issues we're still looking at. We know that biofuel is still part of the mix there, but whether and how wood combustion would, we know that if it's waste wood, that should count, but if it's sustainable forestry type wood, we're not certain how that's going to be counted yet, so we're still looking at that. We don't have any wood or biofuel. We do have a couple of plants that run on waste from yogurt factories. We have one plant that runs on methane or waste from landfill gas, but we don't have any wood burners in our system.
Well, in the UP, that's our main source of renewable energy because trees keep growing.
They do. They do. And it will be one that we'll take a look at in the late 20s, early 2030s. And it might be something that you could use in conjunction with another fuel source and combine the two. I know there are plants called circulated fluidized bed plants that use both bio-waste like scrap wood, pulp from paper mills, that type of thing, in conjunction with wood waste from forests and other fuels like petcoke, and then burn all that together. So there are plants out there that operate that way. WEPCO just brought a plant online, I think last year, that's 50 megawatts, and it's a wood plant. But right now, it's not in our portfolio.
When we looked at those a number of years ago, the percentage of the biofuel was only like 10 to 15%, you know, in your portfolio. So I don't know if they're looking at trying to up that percentage.
Yeah, it's an asset that it does work. It's technically feasible. One of the costs that makes it a little bit more expensive is gathering the wood waste, and there's a lot of development in that area on how to do that more effectively. It definitely is something we'll be taking a look at. So.
And if individual members now want to produce solar, is there understanding from Jeremy that we couldn't produce solar right now? You said that in the future you're having a program.
A couple of things. Right now, our members have the ability to do solar if they want to, up to a megawatt on demonstration type basis. So our members have some flexibility in that regard today. What we're trying to do is put together a cost-effective utility scale program so that if you wanted to put a solar system, a solar array in Norway, and then sell the output to specific customers, you could do that. You could have it so that the city buys 100% solar from that system and pays for it that way. So we're developing the program through a couple of pilots that we're doing in Wisconsin with two of our members that have a pretty high concentration of customers that participate in the Green Rate program. They're amongst the top in the country, actually, of participation in the Green Rate program. That is where customers pay extra money each month to have assigned more renewable energy into their personal usage. And so we felt that these two communities had a lot of interest already in renewables, and so we went through a process and ultimately picked those two in order to try the community solar gardens to see how they work. And then hopefully take that and develop a program that any one of our communities could look at.
And they do make solar panels now that you can use in place of roofing, so new house construction, south-facing roofs could become solar panels.
I'm familiar with that technology as well. It's not the most cost-effective. The standalone solar panels that are not part of the roofing material are still less expensive. The difference between utility-scale solar and rooftop solar is 50% cheaper to do it on a utility-scale basis. And so no matter what you can do on your own personal rooftop, you can do it about half that cost if you do it at a utility size. That's why we're trying to come up with a program where you could offer that to customers, and if they want to put it on their house, fine, put it on their house, but if you want a cheaper system overall from a cost standpoint, doing it on a utility size system would be less expensive. George, anything? Chris? I don't have any other questions. Joe, anything? Ray?
No.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I do want to leave this with you. It's our 35th anniversary, and we've updated some artwork that we're giving to each of our members just to say thank you. If you have any questions about the contract extension, if your attorney has any questions, obviously you get a hold of us, and hopefully we'll be able to answer those in a favorable way. So again, thank you. Thank you.
We do have a target, right? I mean, there's a time frame.
Yeah, we'd like to have all of them back by the end of this year. We've asked our members to take action before the end of the year, but no later than March of next year. So that's where we're at. Go ahead. Thank you. Thank you. I'll leave this with you. Okay, next on the agenda, we have the MML annual meeting designation of voting delegates. Mr. Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is something we do every year. The MML has an annual business meeting. This year it's held in Traverse City on September 17th. Traditionally, you have appointed me to be the delegate to go to the annual meetings. If anybody is interested in going down to Traverse City on the 16th, 17th, and 18th, feel free. I am scheduled already in Lansing on the 16th, but could make evening the 17th and then, or the 16th, evening of the 16th, and then a business meeting on the 17th. But I will be in Lansing on Tuesday, Wednesday of that week.
Does anyone want to go to the MML meeting and be the voting delegate, or should we send Ray?
I see they have to know real shortly here. August 21st is the deadline.
Yeah.
What's the council's pleasure? Somebody want to go?
Is it worth it, Ray?
Well, I've been to so many of these that a lot of the extracurricular, a lot of the breakout sessions, types of activities, for me personally, it's a lot of recycled information. For someone who hasn't gone, I think it is a very good event, and meeting some of the other council members, because the MML is the most of the elected leaders in the state. And, and the managers participate, but this is really the political arm of our representation. So I think it's worth it. For a council member to go, I definitely think it's worth it. I would prefer to see our council members, if they get an opportunity to go. Unfortunately, I wouldn't be able to travel with you unless you wanted to come to Lansing with me for a couple extra days. But it is in Traverse City, so I mean it's not a terrible trip out of the way.
I'm really interested, but I'm going to decline.
Okay, anybody else interested? Okay, then we're looking for a motion to appoint Mr. Anderson.
Make a motion that the city manager be appointed the City of Norway's voting delegate at the upcoming MML annual meeting to be held in Traverse City.
Motion made by Chris, supported by George. Roll call.
Mr. Gottstein?
Yes.
Mr. Ball?
Yep.
Mr. Oja?
Yes.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes.
First part of our business this evening is Resolution 2015-18, vacate right-of-way and the plat of John E. Anderson's 5th edition on US 2. We've been talking about this for a few meetings now.
This will be the third.
So where are we? Did we have the questions satisfied?
Jeremy, the biggest thing was just making sure we had our ducks in a row with the survey completed, the full legal description inserted into the resolution, just to make sure that we had our I's dotted, our T's crossed, and the resolution's been drafted, and Trish helped get that together last week, and the resolution contains the proper parcel that would be abandoned, the alley, the complete legal description, so requires a vote of council. Additionally, in conjunction with that, we did talk about the sale of those two adjoining small strips to Mr. Beck. That has been near resolution as well, with the purchase agreement having been completed. The deeds are done. Just need to finalize it and make the transfer here, hopefully later this week.
Ray, I notice on other properties the city sells that the surveying, et cetera, legal fees are picked up by the buyer. What's the deal on this? Is
The buyer
Mr.
is picking up the
Mr.
legal
Beck
fees.
is picking it up?
Yes.
Okay, because I was wondering there, I was looking in through our billing from Mao and Solello that the Beck properties mentioned 4 or 5 different times in there. I just want to make sure we're not picking up the tab for that.
Would that be included, the $500 for the paying for the property? Or-
He's paying 500 for the property and the survey and the closing costs. Not the legal fees, though. We haven't addressed the legal fees. I
Well,
don't want to lead you
depending-
astray. I mean, those legal fees. that
I
was-
see the legal fees are bunched in with other stuff here, and I can't figure out exactly what it is, how many hours are charged to that, but from the looks of it, it's going to cost us $300 in legal fees to get $500. Somehow that don't seem right.
I'd say probably a fair statement as to the amount required to complete the documents and get everything squared away. It's fair.
I'm not arguing the...
No, I know.
You know,
No, I hear you.
I think that he should pay
Right.
for the legal fees also.
I agree.
We have a general statement within our policy of closing costs. So if we consider the legal fees as closing costs, then we should put them in the
Well, I
closing
think,
statement.
and that's one thing I think, and Ray and I worked on this before, trying to get a standard policy in place whenever there are purchases or sales of property in the city of Norway, laying out and having a standard closing statement, but also having it laid out as well as what the agreement is. I don't, frankly speaking, I don't think that was addressed when Mr. Beck came and it was discussed. He might look at that as something he didn't bargain for initially anyway. But that's something that, for the council's sake, I think we need to address that as we enter into these agreements to sell this property, because it does have legal fees required to make a transfer anyway. Very legitimate point that
I agree with you, Lee. I think that's part of the costs that we should include them in for the purchaser. I agree with you.
Do we want to add, just say it's 300, or do we want to table it and wait till the exact number on the cost?
I'm just guessing on that 300 because, like I said, the figures are all involved with other things, and like it's 4.2 hours with 2 other items listed there. Maybe it was only 1 hour. It's not broke down that much. Would that be too much of a hassle, Grant, to break that down?
I can provide a billing on however you guys want it to be. I've seen some attorneys that just give one lump sum and put it at the, kind of describe what they do, and at the bottom put one lump sum. I try to break it down as
Well,
much
that's,
as I can.
yeah, one
I
lump
can-
sum would be fine with me.
Well, I mean, totally on the whole bill.
Oh.
I can break it down individually as much as you guys prefer or want to see. It's completely at the council's discretion.
Based on your notes, can you go back on this one and figure out ballpark how much time?
Usually, I do have notes I keep in the file as well as on my computer for the actual billing at the end. It's not very hard to, we do enough of these that it's not that difficult to recreate and see exactly what went into each of the purchase agreements and the deeds, et cetera.
I wouldn't think it'd have to be delayed. You could just say to include legal fees.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. Want to move it forward and say, but then it's up to Mr. Beck if he wants to still proceed with that.
Well, he could come back and ask the council to waive that portion, if that's how you make the motion. In order for us to sign and close the purchaser's agreement or seller's agreement, if you make the motion to include the legal fees and he disagrees, then he can come back and ask to have that waived.
Okay.
And as
That
part
would
of
be a
this,
stronger statement.
as part of this agreement, then, that roadway is going to be abandoned, that will not be an access point.
Yes, that is part of the agreement,
That is-
specifically spelled out.
Yeah, that is part of the purchase agreement as well. And when we did meet with John, it was his intention to not only block off that area, but to turn it into greenery, consistent with the remainder of his property that runs along his business, doing turf control and turf management. I think he wanted to make sure it looked green, if you will.
So we want to table this until we get an exact cost and then approve
No.
it?
No,
I think we-
I think
we
we
don't
should
have
just approve it and say with legal fees.
I'll make that motion.
I'll support.
Motion made by Dr. Hayes, supported by Lee. Roll call.
Mr. Ball?
Yes.
Mr. Oja?
Yes.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Gottstein?
Yes.
Okay, next on the agenda, approval of traffic control devices, speed signs. From the discussion we had at the last meeting, there was talk about a radar speed sign out on Highway 8 that would show the speed of the car coming and the speed that they were supposed to be going. However, we found out from MDOT this week they would not allow us to put that sign in their right-of-way. So we were not able to move forward with that type of a radar speed sign. But there is some other sign options that Mr. Anderson has laid out, and I'll turn it over to him.
Well, I think that one of the experiments that we've been trying is just using a simple sign that basically says speed checked by radar or radar enforced, using it in the area. According to what our feedback is that that's actually, we're seeing some of the traffic slow down with that. So, you know, we've shown you the different options in the electronic signs up to anywhere from $2,000 to $3,000. Jamar has that $4,200 data box. You know, you can get that pretty expensive. Our standard sign option is about $15 per sign. I guess one of the things we're recommending is that we try a few of those and go with that. So the council did ask to put it on the agenda, so I mean, you know, that's, I know we're not, you know, we're talking about not going for the large dollar amount, but I think this is a good conversation, so.
Well, I think it's a good start.
Yeah.
And if that doesn't do the job, we can always go from there. But the feedback on the little sign that was put on the 6th Avenue there seemed to have done the trick from what I understand.
I do like the idea of the data collection, but that's a lot of money just for data collection. If it was going to maybe push us towards getting MDOT to do something with the speed, but that's kind of a big gamble to take on almost $5,000.
I drove down US 8 the other day, and you're coming into town, and I don't recall seeing a sign that said reduce speed ahead.
There is.
There is one?
We questioned MDOT on that, and they sent us a picture of the sign, and then we went out and double-checked, and it is there.
You don't actually see it till you're just past Old
Right.
Crest Drive, then you can.
You know, when you come down US 2, they did change the type of sign that they put out for that now, where you see a yellow backing. It's the old style on US 8. It's just a white sign. I am going to ask them to change out that sign, to update it.
They do make a bigger one. I've seen them in other states where they're actually twice the size of that.
Well, they go by their standard uniform code, uniform signs. They're not going to change that. So whatever we ask them, they're going to put out the standard size, whatever they do.
But the yellow one itself is bigger.
I think you see it. You definitely see the yellow.
Yeah, and I didn't look for the sign, but I just went going through and thinking, gee, I don't remember seeing a sign that said slow down.
Yeah, I didn't. I questioned them too because I don't remember seeing it. And then he sent me the picture, and then we went out and checked it, and it is out there.
Okay. So how many of these signs would you be looking to purchase?
You know,
Would you be looking for a dollar amount? Would you be looking for a number of signs?
you know, this is something we just handle normally through our sign, major local, you know, sign budget. Don't really need, you know, we're not asking council to tell us. I mean, we're going to buy a couple and then try them, and buy a couple more and try them. They're $15 a piece, and they're standard issue signs. It's not anything, you know, you see it, they're off the shelf stuff. So, you know, we put it together as a council packet or a council report, just in case you wanted to go ahead with the electronics. But again, we did get that information from MDOT that, you know, that they did not support that. So.
Okay, so everybody okay with trying the standard sign? Okay. Moving on, now we have approval, the Norway 125 Westweek Centennial Community Budget Request. We have some members of the committee here again tonight to present.
Yes. Thank you, Mayor Oja and City Council members.
I'm here on behalf of the Norway 125 Committee. They asked me to speak to you tonight. My name is Steve Ortman. I am one of the 7 trustees on the board. I'd like to give you a little background of our group before we get too far into this. The Norway 125 Committee was established basically for the purpose of publicly marketing the milestone of the City of Norway's 125th year of establishing its city in 1891. Okay, we're hoping that this event will market and promote the City of Norway, help create economic opportunities for the city, the businesses, and the general public involved. Like I said, there's 7 trustees. I'll give you everyone. The chairman of our board is Mr. Harder, Darrell, sitting right here. Our vice chairman is Tony Adams. Our treasurer is Mary Mason. Our secretary is Sue Bolden. And then the outstanding trustees are Brett By, myself, and Ray Anderson. We have several at-large members that are very involved. And then we've been meeting on Friday afternoons in the city basement, down in the office down there. We've set the dates for June 30th through July 3rd. We're hoping to do this at Marion Park. It'll look like, and hopefully be as big as the old Summer Fest that Norway used to have here at Marion Park. There's a couple things I'd like to read before we get too far into this. We've had some long discussions on how we're going to promote, and we came up with a welcome letter, or a letter that we're going to hand out, so I'd like to read that to you. The Norway 125 Committee is thrilled to announce a 4-day festival to celebrate the 125th birthday of the City of Norway. The celebration is hopefully going to be held at Marion Park. It will provide a vibrant venue for festival goers and will provide a wonderful opportunity to showcase and support your community. The event will start on June 30th, which is a Thursday, and will conclude on Sunday, July 3rd, 2016. We are going to have a main stage entertainment that will be performed by nationally headlining artists. We're aiming for a mix of oldies, country, and rock and roll music that is sure to attract a wide variety of music lovers. Food, beverages, and other available items will be available all weekend long on the grounds. The 4-day event will be sure to attract thousands of people from across the Upper Peninsula, Michigan, and neighboring states. Promotional, marketing, and advertising of businesses will be showcased throughout social media, including Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and our own very well put together webpage that is already up and running. Newspapers, radios, and all other forms of advertising relating to the event will be spread throughout the state, throughout the Upper Peninsula into Wisconsin. We're hoping that you support our community and become a big part of this event because we are excited to bring a family-friendly event to the City of Norway. A couple other things. We have voted and we have hired a promotional manager. We're happy to announce that he's a Norway native. His name is Sean Carlson. He works for a company called Advertising Inc., and he's based out of Traverse City, Michigan. I don't know if any of you councilmen know Sean. Not exactly sure which year he graduated Norway High School.
88, I think.
88, okay. So that's the year I graduated, so he's my age. And he's very excited. He's already put a lot of time in. He's working hard for us. And he's a real go-getter. So we're hoping that that'll really stimulate what happens. We've developed a great-looking webpage to promote and advertise the event. And we'd really like to recognize a couple people that have really put a lot of hours into this. And one is Emily, right there, and Jacqueline Liker, because they're going way beyond what we expected them to do. And we've been working diligently on an expense budget for the council to look at with advisement from Mr. Carlson, who's done a wonderful job explaining to our committee the eligible expenditures that the city can budget for, which in turn will promote, improve, and help and have a public benefit to the city and their projects and their parks. So what I'd like to do is hand out a little budget to all of you that we're looking at. And this breaks down, it breaks down what we feel are expendable things that the city can do. I don't have enough for everyone. I guess the people behind the desk. Sure.
Larry and I can share.
So as you can see, it's not as much as we wanted it to be. But going through it, we hope you can understand the need and what those things would be for. I guess I'm answering questions that you have on that.
With the website, have you gotten it with Emily and got it linked from the city website yet?
Yes, it's on the city's, all the city pages. Don't think I have that piece of paper that lists all of them, but I know it's on at least 4 or 5 different.
It's on 8.
8, okay, there you go. So it is out there. We're already getting contacted by people that want booths to sell their wares and for other events. This group is very energetic and ready to go. We just need more help.
So the bottom line, 50,000, that's, we donating 50,000 or are we getting?
No,
just coming?
as you can see, that's in-kind type stuff. That is an expenditure that Mr. Carlson and Mr. Anderson can probably explain a little better than I can.
Going through without getting into all the details of some of the finer points of the law, like we talked about last time, it needs to be for the benefit of the community and for the public purpose. Chatting with the committee a little bit and looking at some of the things they're looking to do and the large-scale event that they plan on providing here for our community. The city can offer its support in a lot of different ways. One of the first things that we talked about was the committee needed to come to the city council and ask the city for permission to utilize the park and to be able to have it at its premises. By providing city-owned property to have this celebration, that is the city contributing an in-kind donation, if you will, or providing an in-kind ability to use city property.
Well, that's the special events application.
Right, but you still have to go through and
And
process it.
we are in the process
Right.
of filling it out. When we had to get some of our nonprofit paperwork and all that stuff done, and that's not been complete.
And speaking with the auditor, the auditor and Ray and I have been chatting about trying to wade through the requirements and what you're allowed to do, what you're not allowed to do. And I think that these expenses that have been provided by the committee provide a specific benefit to the community and specific benefit to the citizens in conjunction with this celebration. For instance, the electrical is already out there, so we'd be providing the power for the festival. That is out there, and providing that as an in-kind expense. It's not writing out a check to the committee for cash. It is allowing the committee and the citizens of the community to use some of the resources of the city of Norway as well.
But some of these, like the power, I understand the park and stuff, but some of this is going to be the city giving cash.
Well, and the city's going to have, it's because it's part of our city, we'll have the police department will be, I'm sure, patrolling and be involved in providing assistance throughout this process. I know the committee was chatting a little bit about contacting some members or some different security teams to assist and to be available there as well. And my understanding is I don't believe the committee, maybe I'm wrong, I don't think they're asking for a check today, just a commitment for some assistance down the road. And like you said, Chris, some of them, for security, they would be looking to hire on additional assistance to help our officers make sure that the concert goers and the celebration goers are safe and the kids are safe as well.
I guess what I'm asking is, if the city's gonna put in $50,000, is the committee paying that back to the city after, if the revenues are above?
Here's what happens, and we've discussed this before. This is not going to be something that we can honestly say is coming back. Because it would be like, if I was a business and I was donating money and expecting people to come back through my door.
So it's a donation.
It's in kind.
Well, I think of in kind as us providing a service with like the power.
Right, and a lot of that is, well, we have to put a number to that.
No, I understand that.
Yeah,
I just want to make sure that we know there's cash going out too, which we haven't budgeted for, and this is going to probably fall into
And you're right.
current budget session.
You're right, Chris. One of the biggest things that we want everyone to understand is this isn't a private business putting on a festival, okay? We are a volunteer group that the city was looking for someone to take this by the reins and say, hey, we'd like to celebrate 125 years. Back in 1891, when the forefathers built this city, I know they were sitting around a table like this going, you know, in 125 years, I hope they celebrate us. But what we want to do basically is show people that we've been there a long time. And it is a good community, and it's a family-friendly community. And this is something we can celebrate ourselves. And doing something like this is one way of doing it.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with it. I fully support what you guys are doing. I just want to make sure we're clear on what you're asking for and
Right.
how we're going to pay for it.
Yeah,
basically.
and I would, following up on Chris's question to the council, you know, the way that it's been presented, it's from the auditor as well, and the discussions we've had, it's an investment in the community, it's an investment in the citizens, that the city council have to make a decision on if they want to get involved, how much they wish to get involved. I would, and commenting on Steve's presentation and his comments, the committee is hopeful that this will be every bit the success that our previous Summerfests were back. I'm sure the community and the local area recalls some of the wonderful celebrations we put on in the past, but much of it is weather dependent. Much of it, there's things that are out of our control. So I would make that note that I don't think the committee can say whether or not any donations would come back to the city in the form of donations or through the parks, but the discussions I think with the committee have been that's their hope, and that's hopeful. One of the things that they're looking to do in the long run is benefit again the local area.
Because ultimately, when this is done, if there is, that's what it's for. We're trying to put it toward community things. And we're not picking one individual item, we're not picking two individual items. There are a lot of things the city needs. Park and Rec, Marion Park, the museum. There's multiple areas that money, if there's any, when it's done, are going to go to, which are all city programs and city things.
And I think it's a great thing, and it's going to be great for the city of Norway. I guess my question to Ray is going to be, where's the money coming from?
Well, Mary and I are going to have to look at the budget, and we're going to have to, make this work out. I don't have a specific answer.
You've had a good water spring, haven't you, Joe?
Yeah.
Well, majority of it's
I kind
power,
of
right?
figured I knew where it was coming from.
Pray for rain.
I don't have a specific answer for you. It's a weasel answer, but I don't have a specific one right now. I do know that when when I sit at the meetings every Friday, or every other Friday now, and one of the questions that comes out, and I'd just be blunt, is the committee says, well, we need seed money. We need some money now to get this thing rolling before sponsor monies come in. And I think that it would be disingenuous for us as a committee to not throw that out there. I think the request initially too is that there's need to be some money available to start up. What that amount is, he shows $50,000 of eligible expenses. I don't think it's totally $50,000 upfront money, but we are going to have some expenditures coming up. I do think that Mary and I are going to have to sit down, and I don't have a specific answer for you. I hate that I have to say it that way, but we will. we will. We'll figure it out. Because, you know, it has to, we can't wait around. As we've already seen, it's been a challenge to try and book dates already. You know,
Right.
or book entertainment.
And we're kind of running out of time for that, because you start getting into booking for next summer, they're already.
They are definitely booking for next summer. So getting Mr. Carlson on was a big, you know, big job for us, and we're happy to have Sean on board now. He's going to help out. But we have to also nail down a budget of what, you know, I asked him at the last meeting for cash flow. You know, let's see, what kind of cash flow are we looking at? And, you know, we're at the infancy of this budget. So it's going to develop over the next few weeks. So I think each time we get together, you know, at the last meeting we had a presentation, at this meeting we're having a presentation. I do have in a packet about approving the request. I'm not sure if there's really a specific request that's coming out.
Well, one of our problems.
It's support is a
we're
big
kinda
thing.
tied right now, because without the city's help, we can't move forward. And what I mean by that is, if you want to book talent, or if you want to book other things, you can't really do that. You can't even go out and start getting sponsorship. And what I mean by that is the major sponsors. I don't know if anyone has looked online and looked at our sponsor list and all that. It's hard to do that when you don't have anything set yet. So as soon as we can get something set, it's out there, it's available, but the big sponsors that we're going to be going after are waiting to hear back from us to say, okay, what are you doing?
Is there an amount of money that you'd like to have made available if you need it to be
Well, I'm
able
not
to?
prepared to ask or answer that question. I can't do that because I don't know if we've come up with an exact figure of that every year. There's nothing that says we need X amount right now to start. We don't know that.
So we're looking at the next meeting to get it, maybe some number put forward then? Is that what I understand?
Well, I mean, if you want to, you know, I can throw a dart if that's what you want, and I think I just handed it out to you. You know what I mean? Because it's hard.
But what you handed out is different, that's the in-kind expenses.
Right.
What you need is, what you're looking for is the seed money up front to start booking the acts, to get the sponsors. So that's the kind of number that Dr. Hayes is saying, can we get something? So we know what we're gonna be trying to, what you want us to commit to at least be available for you to start getting these things moving.
Well, I think what we're doing is we're handing that budget for you to look at, to commit. For me to, I mean, if you want me to stand here and say I would like $50,000, I can't do that. I don't have that ability. Because we don't know where we're going as far as level of festival, okay?
Well, I mean, what my point is, we could actually, okay, we could say tonight, we approve the 50,000. That's no money going out to you, because all that is stuff that would be set up at the time.
No, I have to, if you look at it, cash, portable toilets, sinks, that's cash. City of Norway merchandise, that's cash. Power, maintenance, that's 17,000. Ground signage, probably we could do in-house with
No.
our, the rest of that's cash. Security,
Well,
that's
I know,
7,500 is cash.
but I'm saying, but they're saying they want 8,400 for portable toilets. We're not gonna have them 8,400 to do it, we will arrange to have them brought in.
Yeah, but we'll still be paying for
We
it.
will be, but they're, having $8,400 for toilets isn't going to book an act. So then, what are they looking for?
No, but adding it together, what we're saying is this is what it's gonna cost to have it. Give us the money so that we can use that to go and get the acts and get the things, and when those toilets come, then it's on us to pay for it. That's what we're talking about. You're giving us that money to go ahead and start doing it, and when the time comes, then we pay for it.
Grant, was there something that, and I can't remember, I think you brought this up, about us giving them seed money, meaning that we say we gave them $100,000 to get started, knowing that that money would come back at the end of the festival. Was that legally possible or not?
Pardon me, Chris, this is my, like we got, the fireworks, we got 8,000, is that what the figure that come
8,000.
up? You know that is not coming back to the city. Okay, here, I imagine you're gonna sell tickets and parking and
Yeah,
all
I
this.
wasn't here for the last.
This is money that they're gonna raise. when this is all over and done with, and X number of dollars profit comes out of this, where is that money gonna go? Is that money gonna come back to the city? Mentioned Steve, Parks and Recs and fine and dandy, but what is coming back to the city to help pay for the expenses of this?
Yeah, we talked about, if there's revenue at the end, if there's a quote-unquote profit at the end, that it is going to be used for betterment of the community, and it's going to be managed by, or we're gonna have a conversation with the original trustees and then the council and the different committees that we have. You know, so that, you know, that is the expectation, is that any monies raised are going to be used for the community. Now, whether they pay for a specific expense, that's something we have to have a conversation about. But that's not a revenue though, unless,
Exactly. George, one of the biggest things to understand is those of us that are on this board, it's all coming back.
No, I realize, see, I realize that.
But there's no guarantee.
Where, and how is it gonna get distributed? And is this gonna fork out the $100,000 and go for something that is not needed when we return to the city?
Right. Well, first of all, Chris and George, I like your $100,000 ideas. But last city council meeting, that I wasn't at, sorry to say, I don't know, was this talked about or handed out?
Yes.
Okay. So when you looked at the proposed expenses and proposed revenue back then, again, it's estimated. But the whole, with good weather, good acts, good people, good everything, you can guesstimate that a total revenue we're hoping and we're looking for is over $100,000. Now, I know you may not have that, and maybe copies of this. We're not saying that we're going to come anywhere close to that, but these are goals, and these are what we're looking to do. The people that are on the committee, like Daryl, who's a big part of Parks and Rec, myself, Tony and Brett, are a big part of Marion Park and the baseball and softball fields up there. We've got representation from the Marine Museum, we've got representation from other parts. The hope is when this is all done, dividing whatever is made, distributing it for the benefit of the city of Norway. Now, if the museum, if Parks and Rec, if Marion Park gets any money, that's less that the city has to put in toward those, right? So the city will get a benefit to this. Our problem is we can't look into a crystal ball and tell you that that's what we're gonna make on something like this.
No, I realize that too.
So it is a leap of faith.
Like, Vanka, there's no guarantees. Whether is the manufacturer and that could put your bankruptcy to do one.
Right. But we are talking and looking into, if any of you went to Niagara Celebration, we are looking at doing something like they did, where they had the tent, where they had other things. And they were a pretty good success last year. So.
Marcia, you have a question?
Yes.
You wanna come up? I don't know if it's for you or for us, that's why if you could stay up, Steve.
Yeah, because it's connected for Steve too. I should also on 209 Brown Street. I was wondering if some of the profits that they hopefully make, you could save some of that instead of giving it all out for seed money, because you realize 25 years from now, or 25 years from next year is 150. So instead of having to worry about this, maybe if they put a little seed money away, they'd be able to have a good start and be able to start a little earlier and, set their programs. Just a suggestion.
It'd be something for the committee to talk about.
Well, that's
Sorry.
one of the questions I had was, is there any seed money left over from the Centennial 25 years ago?
no.
I didn't think so.
And then one last thing before I end, I was just going to show you Marion Park there and what we're talking about. I'm sure all of you remember when they did Summerfest last time, along the tree line here is where all the restrooms were, and then the main stage was right here. We're in conversation with the parking that the fairgrounds have. Of course, that's going to be a discussion that we have with those folks.
Tentatively, I have talked with John Degner, and he said that the fairgrounds would be willing to work with you.
Sure, and that's good. You know, everyone working together for the greater good, that's the biggest
But
part of it.
I can't guarantee it because that's just one person talking.
Well, I
That's
understand.
what-
I understand. But luckily, the fair board are all local folks, and and of course, we are planning multiple other things going on. They're not set in stone, but the race association is planning on having a race that night. The golf course is talking about having a golf tournament. The baseball group is looking at having a softball tournament. There are multiple things that are going to be going on that whole weekend. So it's going to be more than just a concert. It's going to be a UP-wide event. And it could be the biggest thing that happens in the UP next year. I mean, that's not bragging, that's just the truth of it. Because there's a lot of things that are going to hopefully go on that weekend.
Well, I think the timing is right, because it's 2 years from Niagara's big centennial, and everybody still remembers how great that went over, and that was just fantastic out there. And maybe this year it'd be a little too soon, but another year down the road, I think timing-wise, it's going to be just great.
And being over the 4th of July, a lot of people that are from Norway and visiting Norway will be here that weekend, going right into the fireworks on Monday then.
If I could, I didn't want to go, have a question go unanswered. Chris, you had made a reference about whether or not the committee can work with the city in conjunction with the money going to them. You always start with the premise that I've always utilized and chatted with other city attorneys that, cities and municipalities can't loan money out. We can't do that. Except under very, very small details or circumstances. But one of the things with putting together the 501c3, I think it's called the Friends of Norway, that's in the process. That should be up and running hopefully here very shortly. We're kind of looking at the end of this week as being a focus point to have this thing out. It'll be a little bit of a work with the IRS to get the nonprofit status approved. But within the operating agreement, the discussion was, having right in the operating agreement that as part of that formation, looking at, trying to pay back some of the goodwill of the people that have participated in making that a success, which would likely include, and one of the primary partners would be the city of Norway. So perhaps something, the next committee meeting, have a discussion regarding making that part of the operating agreement within the 501c3 that binds the committee to that requirement that acknowledges the return of any profits or any monies that come in above and beyond expenses.
Any other questions? Well, I'd like to thank the council for their time and consideration on behalf of the Norway 125 committee. Thank you.
So, Ray, so there's really nothing to approve of this right now?
No.
Okay, thank you, Steve. Last thing of the business this evening, we have approval Sturgeon Falls Hydro Network Communications. Joe.
In my write-up, I referred to having issues with the hydro network communications not being operational on quite a few occasions. And then by it not being operational, we are not able to see the hydro remotely or operate the hydro remotely, and it causes us operational problems. Not being a network engineer, I had asked Chris Godstein to look into what it was going to take to get the issue fixed. And presenting to you tonight is his findings and costs on repairing the issues with the hydro, and also helping out with some stuff at City Hall, being redundant in our master server, and it works out for the greater good of everything. So if Chris wants to elaborate on that.
Yeah, I can, so when the city asked us to do a documentation project and go through the network and kind of come up with an upgrade plan, one of the concerns was the server down at the hydro. And that was on the list of things that needed to be addressed at some point. When we started looking at some of the issues they were having just recently in the last month or two, and then in conjunction with the other network upgrade project that's happening right now, which is replacing the server downstairs with a new system, it was a good time to have a discussion about replacing the server down at the hydro and bringing that up to City Hall. The benefit to doing that right now is that we can tie that into the existing system that we're going to be putting in, which will give us additional redundancy that will benefit both the hydro and benefit City Hall for a lot less cost than upgrading that system later down the road.
Wouldn't that, though, that puts more distance between the server and the actual hydro, so wouldn't that make it more risky because you could lose communication in between there?
Not necessarily, because right now that server is taking data from the well site and from the actual hydro, which there's fiber communications between both of those locations where the server is actually sitting. So moving it to City Hall doesn't add much more distance to it. On top of that, the network upgrade that we're in the process of doing is adding battery backup to all the locations in the network so that if there is a power failure, there is sufficient runtime for communication.
Any other questions? Otherwise, I'm looking for a motion.
Where did we go from 15,000 down to 11?
Oh, there was the quotes that I included was the quote for the original server that we approved in the first network upgrade. I just had the vendor double that so that the servers were identical. And when it was first written up, I wasn't clear when I sent that quote off to Ray that they were only paying for, we're asking to pay for one of them. So we had the amount adjusted down to the 11,000.
So we'd be looking for a motion for $11,030.61 for the extra server and the software for the upgrade.
This update, Joe or anybody, is that included in the budget this year?
We have
last
monies
year?
budgeted for an overall system upgrade, and because other departments are going to be utilizing this, like the water department and stuff, we're going to get together afterwards, Mary, Ray, and I, and then talk about how we're going to divvy it up on a pro rata share of how much each one is utilizing it. But yes, we have a pot of money for system upgrade that wasn't previously budgeted.
Okay.
Make a motion, we approve the Sturgeon Falls Hydro Network Communications update for a price not to exceed $11,030.60.
Support.
Motion made by Dr. Hayes, supported by George. Roll call.
Mr. Minigini?
Yes.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Gottstein?
Abstain?
Mr. Ball?
Yeah.
Mr. Oja?
Yes. That's our business this evening. Does anyone from the audience wish to address the council on any subject? If you do, please come up to the podium, state your name and address for the record. Okay. Chris?
Nothing tonight.
Oh, okay.
Mark Olani, Prairie Road. I was listening to the comments with Mr. Ortman, and I think it would be a good idea to contact Niagara on their fest and get the costs. And
They've
also-
actually had the woman who ran Niagara's working directly with the committee to
Okay, so you
organize
know
ours.
basically what the costs were and.
Yep.
Okay.
George?
Yeah, I see in this one, it's topics, Ray, Ray, I've had a lot of concerns. The compost site, how people are, get over there, for, on the four-wheelers or side-by-sides, whatever. I that's a constant question that come up. You can't run on the highway with them. You almost have to go around the county to get back to Marion Park and to the golf course to get there. Is there any consideration?
Well, that was, the planning commission, you know, looked at a number of different sites, and, you know, that issue did come up, and the site was selected, what, a year and a half ago, you know, with that consideration. So, yeah, I mean, they talked about it. You know, you'd have to utilize some of the back roads. You can't just run down US 8. I mean, you can if you take a chance, you know, because you're not supposed to be on the shoulder.
I see a lot of problems coming, trying to face that.
We'd have to watch our bike path, because I think we'd see ATV traffic down the bike path.
Is there a way that we could utilize that bike path?
Not officially, because we have grant monies that paid for that, and through those grant monies, there's a requirement to keep it as non-motorized. So we have a requirement to keep all motorized traffic off of the bike paths.
Anything else, George?
No.
Dr. Hayes?
Concerning WPPI, I would assume that we'll be contacting David Krause for his recommendations, or I presume that at a future meeting you'll be coming forth with a resolution that we would re-up our contract with WPPI.
From Mr. Krause?
Well, he made the recommendation in the first place, so I'm wondering more from the city management. Are we going to get something at a future meeting then that we're going to vote yes or no on this?
Well, yeah, we'll have to have all of the documents come forward for you to approve to move forward. So that will be coming up at a future meeting. We felt like, and Mr. Peters wanted to come forward and give a presentation, you know, and have, you know, if you have any questions, I gave you some of the documents to look at, so, you know, you could start, you know, looking at if you had any questions, but it's a pretty long-term agreement, so it's yeah, we're going to have to vote on it and move forward.
So I'm assuming that you'll coming forward at a future meeting.
Future meeting, yes.
And speaking of future meetings, now when is our first meeting in September?
September 8th, Tuesday night. That is Tuesday night, yeah.
So it'll be the 8th and the 21st.
Correct.
And I'd also like to take this opportunity again to thank David Anderson for keeping his property out there for the city, so we were able to buy it and able to annex Marion Park and our golf course into a city. So now the city police can participate in looking over that area, and in the future, if the city does have development out there, it'll be houses in the city. That's all I have.
Lee?
Trivia question for tonight. How many pages in our packet? 235. That's a new record if anybody's interested. Okay, Michigan Municipal League Liability and Property Pool. I see we got back a check for $19,429. Was that budgeted to get that back?
Well, no, it wasn't. It was not budgeted
There's
to get it
20,000
back.
There's 20,000 startup right there.
Yeah, it's the dividend that we get
Yeah.
back for last year.
Okay.
We don't budget the dividend, and then we look at
Okay.
coming up the next year.
Dickens County Road Commission, City of Kingsford, along with Balco Construction and Gallagher Asphalt, hot in-place recycling of asphalt payment. Are you going to that, Joe?
No,
See, you
wasn't,
got, I mean, looks like some special deal here. Hot in-place recycling of asphalt. Baca will be giving a presentation on it along with the Dickens County Road Commission and
give
City of
it, give
Kingsford.
it to me. I can,
That was in the packet. I'd like to
Yep.
see somebody get there, either you or
yep, okay,
Mr. Ball.
yep.
Okay. In the executive memorandum, we had talked here last time, I talked about our gas bill in here, and why would it be so high? And in the wording here, the questions, and that's what you answered here, Ray. We've been working on our air flows and need to get the flows, final balancing, which should happen over the next 1 or 2 weeks. I mean, how many thousands of dollars did we put into this new system, and we're still putzing around with it? That
Well,
things aren't quite right.
Well, I looked at the CC apps that we used 2 months ago versus last month, or the month on the billing, and then I looked the month previous. We were quite a bit down 2 months ago. We were up a little bit again last month. If you look at the weather pattern, we had quite a bit of nightly temperature, number of nightly temperatures, 50s in the low 50s. I'm guessing in the system that it probably kicked on in the evening when the night temperatures went down.
Right, but it still says here, to get the flows,
Right, and-
final balancing. This is something that we
Right, and
should have been done.
and we have all the system in place now, and we have to get that person back to see. What we have is we have the city hall administration offices with the police administration offices on the same air handling unit. And if you use the same airflow, one side or the other is hot or cold. And what they have to do is they have to take, and it's not a real simple process. I mean, what they have to do is take the airflow and balance it between those two offices. And we have to get that gentleman back here to do that. In order for them to even start the balancing, you have to run the system to see how those flows are coming. So I know you're frustrated, but that's what I'm trying to get them back here to get that balanced.
That's
And they are coming back.
That's a mild word for it, frustrated.
Yes. I
Why would you
understand.
turn on the heat in the summer, even if it was 50 degrees?
The system,
Can't you turn it off?
that's how the system operates.
Okay, and then I'd also like to thank our chief, Mr. Schaefer, for breaking down the bonuses that we were discussing last week as to the different police officers got. And one last thing here, to show that I'm 100% on board with Norway 125, who do I give my check to be a official Centennial supporter?
I'll take it.
I figured you would. Am I the first one?
Yes, I don't know. Is he? Yeah. Someone will take a picture?
check, yes, we do have a verbal, but yeah.
All right, well, thank you.
That's all.
Okay, my question is, that 40 acres we have north of the city, annexing it, where are we with that? And then boat landing and...
Ray and I chatted about 2 weeks ago now with my to-do list, and the annexation looks as though it's up to the city council, frankly. It is a piece of property that appears to be eligible for annexation if the council wishes to proceed. Looked at the statutory requirements, it appears it does qualify for it, so it takes a city council.
We have that, the 40 acres is pretty simple with the legal description. I have to look at the legal description that we got from the county on the boat landing. It's, we just have to plop it into that resolution that we did not too long ago.
Okay.
So that's where it's at. I think, to be fair, the ball's in my court right now. I need to put that into the resolution, but we do need to double check on that legal description down at the boat landing.
And that long-term contract for WPPI, I'd like to get that in full so I have a chance to go through it before we have to vote on it. That's all I have.
Can I ask you a question, Jeremy? seeing we're getting involved in annexing this property for North Township, I imagine. What would happen if, say, 3/4 of the city on the north and west, say the unpopulated farming area, decides they want to leave the city and go to North Township and get up to petition to do so? What happened? Grant, could you look it up?
I've never heard
I think we're playing for fire, whether you will know it or not. A number of years this petition started and was circulated and dropped. If that all comes back, what's going to take place? Give us something
Can you
to
give a
think
list of
about.
what the procedures are, should someone want to?
To get out of the city?
Should they wish
Yeah,
to, should they wish to be annexed by the town?
I think annexing and detaching are pretty much the same procedure. I believe we looked at that. I might have some information on that, actually.
All right. I know we looked at that before.
Well, they actually had, I think you're referring to, George, a number of years ago, they actually had a petition now started. I think it wasn't it over the hunting rules? I think it was over the hunting
I
rules.
think that's what started it, but it was very serious.
Yeah,
Before you get your foot in legal debt, then you better know where you're headed.
Jim, anything? Joe?
Yes, I just want to give you an update on the Tanner Gate project. It's been a while, but we received our FERC letter for approval to start on Thursday. Contractors have been contacted. They got the barges in place, cranes are arriving, and going to start building the cofferdam this week. So things are progressing.
Joe, are you good to repair those gates? Or?
Yes, we're dewatering both gates, and both gates will be sandblasted, recoated, new chains on both, new cables, tip-over cables, and the large gate is going to get heated sides on it so the ice doesn't build up, so in case in the winter we get a unit breaks down, we have to get rid of water, we can open a gate. That has not been an option at this point. But they'll all be fixed up and good for another run. The concrete restoration in unit number 4 is complete. I've got to wait a couple more days in order to water it up for the concrete to cure. The crack sealing effort they did was phenomenal. Injecting this kind of a rubberized mold that they put in there, and it just stopped all the water from running in the concrete. Just amazing how it worked. And then they resurfaced everything. It looks like a brand new concrete pit. We did not have enough money to go ahead and do number 3 this year, so that will be on the hit list for next year to do. Because if you remember right, we had a 5-year commitment and $80,000 every year, so that's what we're sticking to instead of coming with a change order. And then the 4th runner on unit number 1 that the blades totally came off of is repaired, and it's ready for installation. So we're going to be starting that effort next Monday, and then start taking 2 apart to fix the remaining cracked runner on number 2. So there's a lot going on at the hydro for the next 2.5 months.
Sounds like all the units will be down next week. Are we going to have any running?
No, I'm jumping them around. We will always have units operating. We don't have enough water to run them all anyway, but I'm staggering it all so we do not lose any generation. So don't worry about that.
Joe, did we get any answers? what caused this, or?
They are coming for a site visit on the 26th and 27th of this month, NORCAN. And they're going to have the pit dewatered at that point, and they want to get down and take a look at it. And then we can talk about what some of the results were. The preliminary results is what you all read. They were reported to you on them, so.
Anything else?
No, that's
Larry?
it.
Tricia? Brent?
No, thank you.
Ray?
I have nothing.
Looking for a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Motion made by Lee, supported by Chris. Roll call.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Gottstein?
Yes.
Mr. Ball?
Yeah.
Mr. Oja?
Yes.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.